Dear audience, good afternoon. It is good afternoon, yeah. So I would like to present something from the northern tip of Bay of Bengal. Earlier we just get some idea from Sri Lanka. So Bangladesh is in the northern tip of Bay of Bengal, and I would like to talk about some seafood farming in Bangladesh coastal area and its impact on the food security of the producing community. You know all about that. There is a debate. The poor people is producing seafood for the international market by depriving their own food security. This is the one issue. And the another dimension is that it also brings many environmental risks to the local environment, bringing salinity, shrinkage the livelihood opportunities. So I'll just discuss on this issue today. So the title of my work, Impact of Salinity on Shrimp Prawn Farming, Household Food Consumption, and Nutritional Outcomes of a Vulnerable Group of the Household, I mean the adolescent girls, at different agro-ecological settings in Bangladesh. I'm from a university that is newly established in the close to the medium coastal area of Bangladesh. So I would like to address some key issues before going to my topic. The first thing is the food security in Bangladesh. If you look in 1943, there was some disaster. 1.5 to 4 million people died in a Bengal famine in 1943. At that time, the total population was 30 million. So now the total population is 160 million with less land mass, 3 to 40 times less land capita. However, the country achieved first time ever in 2014 the food sufficiency. So this is the story of food security aspect in Bangladesh, where 160 million people are living in a small land mass, which one is equivalent to Wisconsin province of USA, but it's carrying the half of the population of USA, I mean 160 million people in Bangladesh. So this is, if you look, this is the Bangladesh, the aquaculture contributes more than 4% of GDP. Around 200,000 hectare area is under the shrimp prawn farming area and mostly confined in the southwest coastal belt of Bangladesh. You'll find the world's largest mangrove forest, the Sundarban is here. This is the Bay of Bengal, and this was our study area, the coastal saline area where shrimp and prawn mostly produced here. So, but Bangladesh is a small player in terms of producing seafood or supplying seafood in international market. Its export volume is only 50,000 metric ton per year. First of all, we'd like to see what is the agroecological settings in the southwest coastal area of Bangladesh. If you find the low-lying area, the surface water salinity is segregated. I mean, the surface water salinity is not equal in the entire region. The salinity is high, mostly close to the mangrove forest, and gradually decreases up to the inland area. And this total area is length of this area is 160 kilometers. So if you read some article in international journal or others literature, you'll find most of the cases, the worst case scenarios are bringing from the most saline areas. So they are telling this environmental degradation is happening. On some cases, they are dealing with the marginal people who has struggling in terms of food security. So to get an overall idea, we have considered the whole into our account the whole area. Then we found that the salinity is stratified on the basis of surface water salinity, groundwater salinity, soil salinity. On that basis, we have categorized into 4 different saline area in this particular area. The high saline area is termed as salinity. The surface water salinity is above 10 ppt is considered as high saline area. Surface water salinity is in between 5 to 10 ppt is considered as medium saline area, and surface water salinity less than 5 ppd is considered a low saline area, and the rest of the area is freshwater area. So these are the segregation we have done on the basis of many secondary data from the soil salinity, water salinity, groundwater salinity, and species distribution, their salinity tolerance level. And this is the aquatic animal and agricultural pattern in the southwest Bangladesh area. You will find the most of the cases where the salinity is high, only shrimp is being cultured along with other mangrove fin fishes species. And in some cases, shrimp and other rice is culturing either alternative way or concurrently. And in the freshwater or low saline area, both shrimp and prawn along with dike crop and rice is being cultured. So this is the general scenario of farming pattern in this particular area. If you look at the culture system and compare to other Asian, Southeast Asian or Asian countries, the system is highly extensive in Bangladesh. I mean, more than 90% farm is under the extensive system. Out of 270,000 hectare area, 90% of them are under extensive system area. That's family-driven, small-scale polyculture system. And then we just targeting the hidden hunger and intra-household food variation. First of all, we look the agroecological setting, their farming system, and its impact at household level food consumption. And on this regard, we like to look at the adolescent girl. As you know, in Bangladesh, 2/3 adolescent, around 60% adolescent girl got married within the 15 to 19 years old, and among them 1/3 got their first child in this stage. That indicates baby become mother of a baby. So to address this vulnerable subject, we'll easily able to understand what's the situation of public health, those who are living in the shrimp and prawn farming area. You know all about the eicosapentaenoic and docosahexaenoid and omega-3 or content of omega-6, something like that. We have used this biomarker to understand the impact of this agricultural activities or intervention in this particular area. So now the research, these are the overview I have mentioned in which dimension we have just looked into. The research question is what is the role of the aquatic animals on food and nutritional security of farming communities in saline floodplain areas of southwest Bangladesh. This is the research design. It's a big research design. We use some mixed method. We did some census at 4 community levels. And then we have done some survey on the farm level, household level. Then we have collected all the aquatic animals, around 54 aquatic animals and 9 aquatic animals byproducts. And we have studied all of their proximate composition along with the polyunsaturated fatty acid component. Then we go to the household level, intra-household food allocation, and looking also the 24 hours food recall method, their distribution of food and their impact. Then we measured the adolescent girls' health outcomes. I mean, we looked their anthropometric variables and also measured the omega-3 index at their blood levels. So 4 sites that I mentioned earlier, 4 sites were selected from 4 different agroecological settings: high saline area, medium saline area, low saline area, freshwater area. So case studies were executed in these 4 different villages in the 4 agroecological settings. These are the anthropometric measurements. We have taken mid-upper arm circumference. Then the blood was taken, weight measurement, height measurement. So then the first results, the socioeconomic aspect, we found that we categorized the community people in the 4 different categories. Actually, they did it: rich, medium, poor, and ultra poor. And we obtained the household in the high saline, medium saline, and less low saline and freshwater area, most of the household, about more than 75% of household are involved directly in seafood farming in this particular area. So no matter either they are rich or poor, they have equal access to the aquaculture farming, no matter they are owning land or not. Most livelihood options confined in the aquatic farming activities, I mean in the value chain, they are also indirectly involved. So if we look the aquaculture system, here the total aquatic animal dicrop and rice production, we found in the high saline area, they are producing only aquatic animals. There is no chance to produce dicrop or other rice and other agricultural activities. The same in the medium saline area, but in the low saline area, they are producing aquatic animals, rice, dicrop. In the freshwater area, they are producing a huge amount of dicrop, rice, and aquatic, and this is equally distributed in between the two segments of the society, I mean better off and the worse off. If we look at the small scale family driven polyculture system, about 54 different species, 22 varieties of vegetables is being produced across the saline gradients of southwest coastal belt of Bangladesh. So it's not only the shrimp farming, it's a polyculture system. Saline environments more dependent on export. If we just categorize among the total volume of production, how much is destined to the international market and how much is consumed at the local level, you'll find the export item is gradually decreasing from high saline to low saline area. In the freshwater area, in terms of total production, only 20% is destined to international market, and rest 80% is consumed at a local or domestic market. And in terms of total production, around 20% is consumed at household level, and rest 70% is destined either local or international market, and some of them are gifting or charity to the poor or marginal people. So a significant portion of shrimp and prawn byproducts remain in Bangladesh. If you look the byproducts, the amount of prawn is a total around 50%, 40 to 50% is byproduct. I mean shell, brain, claw, and claw muscle. These are also consumed locally. And we look at the nutritional content of the aquatic animals, we found there is the influence of salinity and culture system on the accumulation of total N3 long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid. I mean fish that is grown in the high saline area having higher content of long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid compared to the fish grown in the freshwater area. In terms of inter-household food allocation, we found that among the irrespective of social well-being position in better off and worse off, both the wife and daughter are getting less amount of fish or other feed stuff compared to the counter sex or the household head at their household. In terms of energy and nutrient composition, first of all, we look the quantitative way. Then if we look the qualitative way, we found there is no differences in between better off and worse off households. I mean, they are consuming almost equally. Only low saline is a bit lower than other sides. Adolescent boys and girls are getting at least 10 to 18% less kilocalorie compared to their requirement or threshold. Protein consumption was was higher, 2 to 3 times higher than the requirement of all the subjects. And zinc was higher. Calcium was consuming lower compared to their requirement, nutritional requirement. So, and long chain N3 polyunsaturated fatty acid lower than the threshold, as you know, is required 250 to 500 milligram per day. In terms of body mass index, the adolescent girls' body mass in the 4 agroecological settings and the both better off and worse off are remaining within the suitable range. In terms of the interesting data we obtained here, in terms of omega-3 index in the red blood cell of adolescent girl, the high saline girls irrespective of their social well-being, having higher amount of EP and DHA, and it is gradually decreasing with the decrease of salinity level, with the decrease of long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid content of the fish where they live. And in terms of the long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid ratio, the proportion of N3 and N6 is also gradually decreasing accordingly. In the summary, if we just look on the system, look at the water salinity, the variables which one we considered earlier, the salinity is decreasing from high saline to low freshwater area. And look at the input cost for the aquaculture activities. It is also, seed cost is also high in the high saline area, gradually decreases. Fertilizer cost is also high here. However, feed cost is very low in high saline area and gradually decreases in the freshwater area. In terms of cost, operation cost, freshwater have to invest a lot compared to the high saline area. In terms of yield, fish is being yield almost equal, around 1,000 kilo per hectare per year, but rice and vegetables only obtained in the low saline and freshwater area. The gear management, disease occurrence is also high in the higher saline areas compared to lower saline areas. The benefit, net return is much higher in high saline area compared to other three. The nutrition quality of fish, the oily fish or N3 puffer fish is much higher in the higher saline areas and gradually decreases in the lower saline areas. Health outcomes of the adolescent girl, if we consider the biomarker of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acid, they are in a much suitable position, those who are living in the aquatic desert or in the high saline area. Then market orientation, the last slide is market orientation. Look, this area is highly linked to the international market, and the freshwater area is contributing much less compared to higher saline area. This graph or this summary shows the area which one is highly saline, highly linked to the international seafood supplying, is providing adequate energy to the household level, is providing nutritionally sound health to the vulnerable group, the adolescent girl. So aquatic farming system are highly fragmented, low input and low risk system in southwest Bangladesh or in Bangladesh, mostly produced in polyculture system, and high nutrient dense fish and fish products remain for domestic consumption. We also compared in terms of when we just look the 54 different species, those who are consumed locally contain higher amount of macro and micronutrients and omega-3 content compared to the items which one is export to the international market. So not only in terms of volume, but in terms of qualitative way, the most of the nutritional rich fish remain in the local or domestic market. The N3 puffer content of fish are exactly manifested in biochemical study of adolescent subject, no matter poor or better of origin. So this work was done in a linked project in between the Noakhali Science and Technology University and the University of Stirling, and the financial support from British Council, the project called INSPIRE. Thank you very much for your patience. If you have any question.
This is question time now. Any question for him? So, this is really nice, informative presentation. So I have two questions for you. You have said, especially in saline area or aquaculture area, wife and daughters get less nutrient in terms of protein, proof, all these things. Is it related to that localities, or is it related to culture?
We conducted our research in 4 different agro-ecological settings, and we found that it's the social norms and custom in Bangladesh that female are getting less compared to the household head. So we didn't find any significant difference among the 4 different sites. So it indicates there is no relationship with the agricultural interventions to the intra-household food allocation. Even we didn't find the differences in batter of households. There also women are getting less compared to the household head.
So that's, I think, kind of culture
Yeah,
for the
culture
country.
norms, yeah, that's the things.
And that's not only in Bangladesh, in many countries.
Underdeveloped countries, yeah.
True. And also, you said that high saline area, food from high saline area has got more PUFA, more fatty acid, more. So have you found why this is the case? Why more nutrient in high saline area than low saline area?
Generally, fish from saline water having higher long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid compared to the freshwater species. This is the one dimension. The another dimension is that you find in terms of feed, in terms of culture technique, the higher saline areas are entirely dependent on the natural productivity of the water, and in terms of the stocking, they also rely on the adjacent mangrove forest. So they are growing on almost in a natural system. So in this regard, their long chain polyunsaturated fatty acid is comparatively higher than the fish fed with artificial feed in the freshwater areas.
Yeah, actually that's again microalgae, because marine microalgae has got more PUFA, more long chain fatty acid than freshwater algae. So that is why nanochloropsis, isochrysis, pavlova, tetraselmis, dunaliella, all these are very important for prawn culture and fish culture. So thank you so much for your presentation.